Late Night Conversations with Patricia Ntuli, Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. till midnight. Education Conversations.
A warm welcome to you, Professor Willie Chinyamurindi. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Patricia, and it's at the end of the day, so a bit relaxed now. And looking forward to our conversation.
I'm glad you relaxed because the guest before you, Shavad, was telling me how it's past his bedtime and he wants to go to bed. But Ben was whispering to me that you're an avid listener of the show, so this is your time to relax and unwind.
Yes, and I'm very honored to be talking to you because I follow your work all the time, and what a great privilege it is for me as well to be interacting with you.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you. So you wrote an article about how boosting connectivity in African universities could possibly be what could lead us to becoming world-class in terms of the ranking of our universities. Is it possible, or are we just dreaming?
It has to be possible, Patricia, because if you look at where the world is headed, this new knowledge economy that we talk about, we can't afford to be left behind. And part and parcel of this experience for me has come through an awakening in my academic journey, where in the past, it was always nice to go to an academic conference somewhere in LA or in the UK or in Ireland, you name all these nice places. But I've made it a deliberate intention to pay attention to the African continent. I have spent in the last 5 years visiting a number of African countries, and I can see there's a hunger, there's a thirst for knowledge, there's a thirst and a quest really for how we can become better. And I think the answer lies in improving issues such as connectivity. And I would even add to you, Patricia, that it should then, connectivity or the access to data should become the next prioritized human right that we should make sure that nations place in terms of allowing their citizens to have in the quest of becoming better.
Listen, you're saying it should be one of those that are deemed as human rights in Africa. We are struggling to get vaccines. So, yeah, it's a catch-22. But I hear you, and I do agree with you. It is very paramount that we do jack ourselves up when it comes to internet connectivity. But are our governments across Africa willing to work together so that we can find infrastructure solutions that are not costly, but that would also be able to benefit us as Africa to make sure that we've got fast, affordable internet solutions?
So this is where now the challenges come in, Patricia, because part and parcel of the challenge in most of these African countries is a colonial legacy, where there's also been war. I mean, you can look at a country like Mozambique, suffered the devastation of a war that lasted quite a bit, and infrastructure. You just have to drive through rural Mozambique and to see the challenges that are there. And the issue for me, which is the argument I make in the article, is not for African governments to be competing for space, but rather to be collaborating together to try and find workable solution to the challenges. So I find it difficult to imagine that if I were to go to Zimbabwe right now, right in the center of Harare, and there are 4 universities in operation there, each of those universities is competing for funding to build the next big library. Whereas there are opportunities for emerging libraries and collaborative libraries where instead of competing, we find ways of collaborating. And that's where the challenge is. You just have to look at the recently ended Pan-Africanist Parliament, where there were divisions amongst colleagues based on the geographical areas that they come from. You've got the Francophone speaking countries, you've got us guys here, down here, and you've got the guys in East Africa. And what we want to break as a divide, which is an argument I make in the article, is a more of a psychological barrier we need to address. We need to stop these impositions that we have amongst ourselves of superiority and even the comfortability of inferiority in some cases, where some countries who rather wallow and hide and say, no, we are just a little power that is just somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And so the psychological thing must happen first, and then we then address the more difficult part, which is the political will. And then allow me to add that, industrialized countries such as South Africa, who are pioneering not only in Africa but on the global landscape, play a huge part in encouraging the unity of Africa, especially our universities, in thinking towards this collaborative rather than spirit of competition that is more prevalent in my observation.
A-teamers, we are talking about boosting connectivity in African universities with Professor Willie Chinyamurindi, who's a senior lecturer in business management at the University of Fort Hare. I'd love to hear from you. Do you feel that there are means, ways and will in Africa to ensure that we are able to access internet for the betterment of education, not only for universities, but also benefiting high schools